Tonight, our I-Team investigates the Nassar backlash. What can be done to protect our children from predators like former doctor Larry Nassar, who sexually assaulted athletes for decades? Investigative reporter Chuck Yadi joining us tonight with more.
Kathy, the Larry Nassar backlash started at Michigan State and with the Olympic programs where he treated and mistreated hundreds of young girls. Nassar may be locked up for life, but what's next? A new federal law signed last week aimed at better protecting young athletes was already overshadowed when U.S. swimming was rocked by sexual abuse allegations. But we begin tonight with a voice you haven't heard, a Nassar survivor from Chicago who wants progress from the pain.
He sexually assaulted me.
Alex Neal Sevier saw Larry Nassar in 2007 for a dance injury. She was a senior in high school.
He started to feel around my lower area, went up into my shorts with no gloves, but I didn't say anything. If someone just had believed the first girl that came forward, this wouldn't have happened to me. This wouldn't have happened to any of these hundreds of girls.
Neal Sevier is a Michigan native who moved to Chicago to attend Columbia College and has lived here ever since.
I think that colleges need to put their students before their staff and faculty and their sports.
That sentiment intensely echoed at Nassar's sentencing hearings last month.
I can only hope and pray that more of the truth is exposed in time and that the enablers of Larry are held accountable for their inability to report his heinous acts.
Julie Porter is a former federal prosecutor.
Even now, okay, as we sit here today in the wake of the scandal at MSU, the same thing is happening somewhere else. What can be learned? When there are credible allegations of abuse, they need to be carefully investigated.
That's exactly what many victims' attorneys thought the university was doing when it hired Chicago's former U.S. Attorney Patrick Fitzgerald a year ago. Critics say MSU should have had an independent investigation done, but instead hired Fitzgerald to defend the university from lawsuits.
Michigan State University indicated they hired his firm, Patrick Fitzgerald's firm, to do an investigation. So everybody believed there was an investigation.
It's pretty embarrassing seeing how this has been handled so far.
In this letter to Michigan's Attorney General, Fitzgerald wrote, "We believe the evidence in this case will show that no one else at MSU knew that Nassar engaged in criminal behavior. Like any other attorney-client relationship, it was and is important for MSU to maintain applicable privileges when facing litigation. MSU has been and remains ready, willing, and able to cooperate with any inquiry by law enforcement." But numerous victims who are part of a lawsuit against MSU gymnastics coach Kathy Klages say they did tell her and others about Nassar's abuse. Larissa Boyce says she spoke out to Klages in 1997.
She should have immediately reported it, immediately filed something. Instead, she held up a piece of paper and said to me, "Well, I can file this, but there's going to be very serious consequences for both you and Dr. Nassar."
Klages was suspended last year and then allowed to retire. She turned down our request for an interview. Nassar was also accused in an MSU Title IX sexual assault investigation in 2014. He was cleared of wrongdoing, but there were two versions of the final report. This one went to the accuser, this one to MSU officials. The latter warned the university of Nassar's potential liability. New protocols were put into place, including having another staff member in the exam room. But patients and coworkers say they were never made aware of the changes, and Nassar never followed them.
I saw him before and after the investigation. None of those protocols were followed.
Now we know, based on a 19-page MSU PD/FBI investigation, that nobody else in the department was aware.
With the momentum from the Me Too movement and Nassar's recent sentencings, experts and survivors tell the I-Team they are hopeful there will be more change.
I would like to see some accountability.
I'm optimistic that other institutions will take good lessons from this tragedy and will do their very best to try and take allegations seriously. Do I think that there will be no more Larry Nassars? No, I don't.
These are dark days for many of us who attended Michigan State. The victims of a criminal doctor and a broken system at MSU say resignations aren't the only answer. They are still struggling for the truth of how so many women could be treated so badly within an institution and how it can be prevented from ever happening again. USA Gymnastics says it's very sorry and committed to creating a new culture. MSU, Patrick Fitzgerald, and those who worked with Nassar all declined to comment for this report.
Hopefully a much greater awareness, though, when people are listening, Chuck.
That's a start.
Yeah.